Hello everyone and welcome back. So today we are going to discuss about fact model in SAP Datasphere, why it is important, what are its usage and what are its benefits. So first of all, what is fact model? So a fact model in Datasphere is a reusable model that helps streamline the creation of other models within the same business context. What does it mean? So for example, you are working with the development of maybe you are making a data pipeline for finance related reportings. Okay, and there are certain business scenarios which will be using a similar kind of a data or combination of a similar kind of a data. Okay, to keep it simple and also stable, you need some intermediate model, which is why we use a fact model which can be reused to make different consumption models. So for example, you have one financial information in one of the fact model, but you want different information, so same information you are going to use in your consumption model. So you have, for example, 4 or 5 fact models with different information of finance data, and now combining 1 and 2 you are building one consumption model, combining fact model 1 and 3 you are building one consumption model, combining fact model 1, 4 and 5 you are building one more consumption model. That means your fact model is getting reused again and again. So what is the advantage? So we will see in the later slides. So what are the uses of the fact model in business builder? So predefined measures and attributes. So fact models allow you to predefine an array of measures and attributes and filters relevant to a specific business context. This means you can reuse these predefined elements across multiple consumption models, saving time and ensuring consistency. So when you are defining your consumption model, for example, uh, in sales order we have cleared items, we have open items. Now you need two different reports, one for cleared items and one for open items. Now accordingly you can create two fact models, one for cleared item and one for open item, using a filter option. Similarly, whatever attribute is nothing but a dimension, you can say. So whatever attributes you need uh, for your data insight, you can define in your fact model, and that you can reuse in your different consumption models. Same is the case with measures. You can also create a calculated measure using different measures. So for example, you have you have a net profit, or maybe you have the cost and the revenue, and you want to calculate the profit. Now you write a logic to calculate a profit in a fact model. Okay, so this is your one fact model. So that calculated measure, when you will consume this fact model in your consumption model, this measure will go. So this is, I am giving you a very simple example, but it can be complex as well. Like, you are using measures, calculated measures, you are using attributes, you are using filters and so many things which you don't want to build for each report. So for example, using one fact model but it has a lot of data, on top of it you will build multiple reports, report 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you will build the report directly on your fact model, then it has a lot of data. Okay, so similarly you can define multiple fact models with specific data, and then combine those fact models in your consumption model with all these calculated things already done in the fact model, so that you do not need to define or calculate again and again in multiple reportings which have similar requirements. Now second thing is efficiency. Instead of defining the same calculated attributes, as I said, multiple times for the different models, you can create a single fact model that include necessary attributes and reuse it wherever needed. Now, what are the benefits of fact model in Business Builder? So it provides you consistency, ensures that the same business logic is applied across different models. So when you are reusing your fact model in different consumption model, whatever calculation or whatever logic you have written in your fact model, it is being carried forward to your consumption model. That means you are not doing anything as consumption model different. So because you are reusing it, your logic remains same at all the consumption model wherever we are using this fact model. Second thing is, if any modification comes for that a logic change, then you need to come to this fact model and just simply change that logic. Okay, and then everything will be fine. Otherwise, if you will build n number of consumption model and write the logic at consumption model, then one by one, if the same logic is used in 10 consumption model, for example, and then the formula has changed by the business, then you need to go to those 10 models and you need to change one by one for all the models, do the testing and all. So that is why it is time saving as well. It reduces the need for repetitive work by reusing predefined elements. Simplified maintenance. Easier to update and maintain as changes in the fact model automatically reflect in all consumption models using it. So that means whatever changes you will do in your fact model, it will automatically reflect in your consumption model. You do not need to bother about your consumption models. Now, what are the tabs in your fact model editor? So when we will start creating a fact model, we will come across these tabs, which are general, where we will define the name of the fact model. Then we have source model. So we will be using different source models to create our fact model. Then we will be defining what measures we need, what attributes we need from the sources. Input parameter is used. For example, if the data volume is very huge and you want, like, when this model will be used, whether for consumption or whether for data preview, it will provide you an option to put a value for that input parameter, so that you can filter out the data accordingly. This input parameter can also be used for calculation. Like if I put, like, I want to see a particular thing based on my input. So you can say, like, currency conversion is one example. So I will put currency as my input. Now I want to execute this report in a specific currency, for example GBP or a USD. I will just input that currency, and the logic will be written accordingly, that it will change the value, or it will showcase the value in that currency. So that is the uses of input parameter here. Then we have hierarchies. Hierarchies are normal cases where we have hierarchical representation of our data. Then we have exposed dimension sources. This one I will try to explain because this is a bit important. And then we have the filter. Filter is nothing but if you want to contain only specific data. So you developed a fact model based on your source, which is a fact. Now your source contain, for example, uh, 6 years of data, but for the business or your requirement you don't need 6 years of data, but that source is used in other fact models as well. So you don't want to touch that fact, or you delete anything going underlying the base table or the database table. So what you will do, you will create a fact and you will put a filter like current date, or maybe last 3 years or last 4 years. Accordingly you can put a filter. So this is one example of date filter. It is not only related to date. For example, if your source contain both open and close items or cleared items, but your fact is only relevant for cleared items, then you can put the status as cleared, filter off. So similarly, you can use the filter as per your needs for which you are building the fact model. So now coming to the exposed dimension sources, which is one of the tab in fact model creation. So in SAP Datasphere, exposing dimension sources in the fact model allows you to make a specific dimension available for consumption in your analytical model. So when you will expose any dimension, it will be directly available for consumption. Otherwise, you need to uh, you need to do those associations and all again in the analytical model. So that is the advantage, or you can see the purpose. So the purpose is divided into two categories, which is reusability and consistency. Now by exposing the dimension sources, you can reuse these dimensions across multiple consumption models without redefining them each time. So let's suppose you build a fact model. Your fact model has, of course, it will have one fact source which will have the measures and the respective dimensions. Then it can have the dimension tables. Okay, so it can have multiple dimension tables. Let's suppose there are 10 or 11 multiple dimension tables which have multiple attributes attached to it or associated to it. When you will build a consumption model on top of it, if you will not expose this, then only calculated, or sorry, only the fact data of this consumption model, or whatever you will select in your output, because you also have an option to select the attributes, right, in as an output of this model, will flow to the consumption model. Or else you can expose these dimensions to as a source, so that whatever changes will happen to this source will automatically flow to your consumption model. You will come to that maybe. For the first time it will be a little bit confusing, but yeah, once you will practice with defining few of the fact models, it will be more easier for you to understand. Now, what are the benefits? It will provide you simplified maintenance. That is, changing to the dimension source are automatically reflected in all the models using it. So that's what I said. So whenever you will change anything in your dimension source, it will automatically reflect everywhere, wherever it is used. And efficiency reduces the need for repetitive work by centralizing dimension definition. So dimension definition will be centralized. So whatever you will change in the dimension table, it will reflect in your dimension, it will reflect in your fact model, and it will reflect in your consumption model. So everywhere without any uh, other action to be carried out. So this is the benefit of exposed dimension sources. Now it's time to let's move to the demo session. Okay, so now we are at the home screen of SAP Datasphere. As I am making this video after a long time, so my trial account was already expired. I just created a new trial account. So maybe few of the objects, if you are referring to my previous videos, few of the objects or the data might differ, but I will demonstrate just a simple example. I don't want to complicate the things, so I will move to the business builder first. So what is the prerequisite to start building your fact model is that you should have at least one fact, and it is good to have dimensions so that you can associate the dimensions as well and demonstrate how the dimensions are associated or linked in fact model. So here you can see I have created one dimension, um, or two dimensions, one for address and another for business partner, and one fact which is for sales order information. So here you can see these are the dimension business entities, and this is the fact business entity. I have created one sales order fact model as well, but I will try to recreate it for the demo purpose. So to do so, I will just click on the new fact model, and you need to give it a name. So if it is a sales order, let's give it a sales order fact model 1. Because I have already created one, I am giving a name 1. You can use the name as per your company's naming standards, or if you are just testing it, you can name it anything as per your convenience. Now here it will tell you that you need to select the initial fact source. So whenever, it is very important, whenever we are selecting a fact source, make sure that you select a fact table which is a sales order here. Okay, you can select others as well, but in normal cases, because these doesn't contain measures, okay, because these are purely dimension tables, it gives you the property of addresses like city or postal code, and this business partner gives you the address of the business partner, telephone number of the business partner, or the country of that business partner, the company's name of that business partner, and all. So these are the properties, not the measures. So to create a fact, the what you must have, at least one measure should be there. So where we get the measure? Actually in the fact. So we will select a fact, which is sales order. Now we'll click on step number 3. Step number 3, just simply define the alias. You can keep as is or you can change if you want. Click on next. It will take few seconds before opening the fact model editor window. Okay, so here you can see the sales order FM1 has already been saved. So it has opened this model. So if you go here in the general tab first, here you can see the name is here, which we have given. This is the technical name and this is the initial. So what you have to do, this is like in progress, then in validation you can check if anything is wrong, and then you can make it ready for use. Okay, so we will do that later. We'll first start with sourcing the model. So here you can see sales order is already added to it, and there is some association as well, which is a business partner. Now you can add the dimension source if you have multiple dimensions. So make sure that if you have dimension, okay, it should have some common it should have that common field so that it can be linked. So for example, if your sales order doesn't have business partner information, you can't link it to business partner master data, right? Otherwise, how the foreign key and the key of the table will work? So to so make sure that your table have those fields, then only you will be able to add the dimension source. So here I am able to see two dimension source. Address is not part of my sales order transaction data. So if I select address, then I won't be able to link it because there is no common field. It will throw an error. So that is why I will select business partner, click next, select the alias, click next. Now you can see the window will appear like this. Okay, now how you can link it? You click on it and there is a link option. So just click on link. So here you can see it is linked. Similarly, if by mistake you have linked something else, if your uh, fact model is bit complex, you are using multiple fact sources, multiple dimension sources, and just linking multiple things, and if by mistake you have linked some different object, you can use this button to unlink as well, like this. So this will become unlink. Okay, so we have linked it and created our first dimension source. Okay, now our dimension source is created. Once we have created the business partner, this business partner has an address. So now we will be able to add our address. So this address we will be able to add now, because our transaction data didn't had address ID, but our business partner master data has an address ID. So that means because we have already added with business partner, we can link this business partner to our address. So how we can do that? You need to first expand it. So once using this expand option, use address will appear. So this address will automatically come out because it understands from the system that you are trying to add address. Business partner already contain one field which is similar to address. So that is why it will pop out address, and then you can use the similar way linking option. Now address is also linked, you can create. Okay, so here you can see how simply we have linked our fact data as well as two dimension data. Okay, here you can select and click on expand if you want to see how many things are attached to it. Okay, this one you can also use like to change the view, how the linking has been done. Okay, So this is very simple. You can similarly add multiple um, facts and dimensions as per your business need. Now next part is going to the measure. So as we have already defined our source model, now we can choose the measure from the existing one. So our fact model has gross amount, net amount, tax amount. Okay. So this is how simply we can just add the existing measures from our source models to this fact model. Apart from this, you also have an option if you want to add a calculated measure. So you can click on this plus button. It will open a new window where you can name your business, like if you want to make it a profit, or maybe tax percentage. Okay, this is not a restricted measure but a calculated. So there are four types of measure which you can define here: restricted, calculated, fixed value. You can give any fixed value to, in case you want to count the number, you can give a fixed value of 1, and when it will aggregate it will give you the count of the records. Then we have a converted currency, so here you can use the currency conversion as well. So in this case I will just demo this calculated one. Okay, I'm not using exception aggregation. Exception aggregation, if you are already working with data, you already know that you can use, by default it is a sum. If you are not using any exception aggregation, it will do a sum. Otherwise you can use minimum, maximum, count, count null, count zero. There are so many things, but for this you need to also select the respective attributes with respect to which this minimum, maximum will be counted. Okay, so here the formula would be, okay, tax amount divided by gross amount. So this formula might differ from organization to organization, or I might be wrong, but I am just demonstrating how you can write a logic and create your calculated measure. So this is how you can just use simple mathematical operations to create your uh, calculated measures. Here you can click to have the functions available. It will provide you what kind of functions are available and how it works. When you click on it, it will give you an example and everything. Similarly, you have add measure to the formula. So here you can see what measures are available currently. You'll get, and more operators. Here you can see what are the operators available. So this is it for this one. We will click on save. Now we have our calculated measure over here. You can see the icon of the calculator here. Okay, so now we are done with the measure part. We will move to the attribute part. So here for attribute also you have similar options, like you can add the attribute from the existing one. So here you can see there are two addresses, because this address is available in address master data as well as in business partner. So make sure that you select only one, otherwise it will be duplicate in your output. Anyway, it will give the same result. It won't differ if your relation is one to one. So you just select one of the address. Maybe you can select all and then you can unselect one. Okay. Similarly, for the business partner, you have the partner ID, which is which might be available twice. Here you can see the partner ID is coming from sales order transaction data, as well as it is coming from business partner. So let's unselect one to remove duplicate data. So that means we have three sources here. Two are master data, which is address and business partner, and one is transaction data, which is sales order. We'll click on apply. That means we have added everything, but you can add only required one fields. For the simplicity, we I have just added everything that is available, because it's not that huge table which has like 40, 50 or 60 fields. It's very less number of fields, so I've just added it. Similarly, for calculated, you can add a new attribute as well. Okay, so this is the screen where you can name your attribute. So for example, you want to create a company plus city. Okay, so you want to create something. So this is just for an example. You can um, create other some combination of multiple things as well, and then you can use it for hierarchy purposes, or maybe different reporting purpose where you want two things together. Okay, so for example, if something is coming as different, like date is coming in one column, month is coming in one column, year is one column, but your requirement is you want all three together. Okay, this is just a very layman example, but the requirement can vary. But here it is not very vast options available. Like either you can select this one. So if you select dimension source attribute, then you have option like only these two you have, like address ID, because these are the two options that is available, and then there are non-selectable as well. So these are not. So you have either address ID or parent ID, which you can choose directly. So if you select like this, then it is added your address ID as well. But here our objective is not selecting a dimension out of source attribute, but we want to calculate something. Okay, so what we will do, in the attribute type we will select calculated attribute. Here you get an option, but this is not very vast, or it doesn't provide much feature. Like you can't write if else condition, or if your requirement is like based on certain condition you need to derive something, but it doesn't provide any formula. If I write if, or if I just simply click something, it doesn't give me any input as well. When I click on the formula, you can just simply add attributes. Okay, maybe in coming version, SAP will provide more options over here, but I'm not sure if they have more options currently available. So what I will do, I will select company name first from here. So this is my company name, and I will simply concatenate it. So how I will concatenate? I will use a plus sign, and then I will try to select city. Okay, so this is a valid formula. So I'm not sure about the output as well, because this formula I'm using for the first time. So let's see what output comes. So I will save it. Okay, so we have our calculated attribute as well. Next is we will move to the input parameter. So here you can see you are not able to create any input parameter, maybe because you need to create this input parameter at your fact, then it will appear here to be added. So we will try this later. We will first move to the hierarchy is all similar. You need to create it first, and then it will appear over here, otherwise it will won't allow you to add. So this is things that you need to prerequisite, that you need to first configure these hierarchies and input parameter first, so that it will appear here to be added. Then we have the exposed dimension sources that I explained. So here we have business partner, which we can expose as a dimension source, and whatever changes we will do to our dimension table of business partner, it will appear automatically to all the models wherever it is used, whether it's a consumption model or whether it's a fact model. So I will click on the plus icon, and here you can select the business entity which you want. So this is the business partner. We will add it, and we will expose this as business partner only. Okay. And then description, if you want to give, you can give the description and save it. So now final part is the filters. So I will apply the filter after the data preview. So what I will do, so this is one advantage, that you can preview the data before saving or validating it. So you can preview the data, see how the data is appearing after all the modifications or all the modeling that you have done for your fact model, and then later on you can save it once everything appears fine. Okay. So here I will take a very simple example. I will not go with address ID or address type. So I will remove this from perspective. Here we have address, which shows the 11 properties of the address dimension table. Then we have business partner, which shows you 13 properties or the attributes of business partner table. And then we have the composite attribute, which shows the data which is coming from your fact table. Okay. So here what we will do, we will try to see the delivery status. So we will add this to perspective. So here you can see we have three different statuses, which is C, I, and X, and respective amount and net amount. Now what filter does, so for example you have different requirement, you don't want this I and X, but this I and X is coming from the source. So how you will remove this I and X? Otherwise, maybe here the data count is less, but in real environment maybe you have very huge amount of data, although you are using only status C, but your model performance is not great because you have included everything, and when you are using it for consumption model, the performance is not that great. So what in those cases also filter is really important. So we will go back to the development, and here good thing is that you can write a logic to have advanced filter option as well. So it's not a normal filter that where you only need to select a particular data, but you can also write a logic here. So I will show you. So here you can see you have these many operators which will help you to add a filter. Then you also have this is advanced filter option. If you want to have only simple filter, then you can simply add it what you want. Okay, so in advanced filter you can write the elements, you can add the elements from here. So what are the elements? Elements are some like the fields that are available as an attribute. So what we will do, we will select a status. Okay, so sales order status, where it is here, this is yeah, delivery status. So we'll select the delivery status, and we will write it equal to, and the value, it will provide you the available values for delivery test status. This is also really good, you do not need to go and check the respective values. So here you can select the value and click apply. So this is done. Similarly you can write contains not. So these similar formula we have also already seen during our data builder session. So you can apply the logic accordingly as per your need. Here I am simply filtering the delivery status equal to C. So I click on save. Now I will go again to the data preview. So now I will try to add a delivery status to the drill down again and check the values. So data is refreshing. Now you can see after applying the filter, it is only providing me the result for delivery status C. So this is how simple it is. You can also save this sales order fact model as your consumption model. So you can create your consumption model from scratch, but let's suppose you have created this fact model, but you know that why you have created this fact model, because you know that this fact model is really important. It can be reused for other business requirements as well. But in this requirement you want exact uh, data as an output, then you can save it as consumption model as well. But this fact model can be used for other consumption models as well. So this is one advantage. So here what we will do, here we have the initial version. So we will go to the data preview. So we are not going to save it as a consumption model, because in the next session we will see how we can create a consumption model. So now we will go to general, and here you can move to validation, or once you are validation, so you can move to validation. So this variant is technically, so that means you are changing something. So these steps are really important, because this looks very simple that you can move it using a mouse button. But let's suppose your team is big and you are working on multiple things, then to avoid like concurrent changes, or like people logging into the same thing, you can put it in validation. That means you are, or maybe in progress, that means you are changing something, and once you are validated your change data free everything, then you can make it ready for use. So this will be helpful for your co-workers who is also working for the similar project for the development. Now you can save it. So we are done with the creation of fact model. So this was it for today's session. Hope you like the content. If yes, please like the video or subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon if you want to receive the notification related to the latest uploads. We will come up with the next session regarding our consumption model. Till then, stay tuned. Have a nice day. Bye bye.